Hey folks, what's up? Hope you're doing well out there. Hope you're hanging in there. I know this is not my normal time. This is not my normal place. This is not my normal system. I probably sound different because I don't have my good mic. Uh, I'm doing all the things. This fucking week from hell, month from hell. I'm doing and by the way, if you need to know what topics I'm getting into, I'm going to get into how the LAPD just said I'm right about cops, and our government just said I'm right about other bullshit they've put forward. I'll get into that as well. I have a new episode of Most Censored News to show you. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But I'm doing the thing where you're moving. I'm like moving. Just all these major life shifts. At the same time, just hell is breaking loose. My fucking toddler on top of all that head butted me into the eyeball, which I think he meant to. So now I have like one bloodshot eye. You notice that? You notice like when shit starts to go bad, it's like, oh, you also got crabs. It's also, hey, by the way, you know how you lost your house and your wife broke up with you? You also have lice. It just lice and bed bugs thrown onto it. That's how life works, isn't it? It's like, oh, you think you're having a rough time? Yeah. try a little fire ants under your bed. It's always something. Always something that gets you. But so anyway, I'm trying to do at least something relatively normal, trying to bring you this live stream. I'm at a friend's house, so that explains the weird background. But anyway, I'm still going to get into some important topics. This might be a slightly abbreviated episode, but thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you click subscribe, click like. I'm almost at that 40,000 mark on Rumble. If you're on Rumble, click follow. But let's get into it. And thanks for all the support, but for everybody out there. It really is. I hope some of you feel me on this. I like one of those months where it's just like, oh yeah, you think you've had it rough? Well, now your cat is gonna scratch your balls in the middle of the night, or just some crazy shit. You're like, is that even a thing? What the fuck? So anyway. But meanwhile, it's funny because all this shit is melting down. I'm also aging like real time. I can just in front of the mirror. It's just like I can watch everything turn gray and wrinkled, and my eye explode, and just like you can just watch it all melt down like a reverse Benjamin Button. Just real time watching me, just like a bad guy at the end of the Indiana Jones Last Crusade, whatever it was called. Crusader of the Lost Ark. What's it called? Where he just melts, he just into a skeleton. That's what, if I watch myself in the mirror, that's what it looks like this week. Anyway, so here's the first thing. And then the weird thing is, I was mostly off last week. There were a few things came out, but for the most part, off during this move. But a few things came out. And meanwhile, while I'm off, multiple major reports saying that I'm absolutely right on a couple of issues. So let's get into those. I just did a Most Censored News the other day, 2 weeks ago, about everything that cops do, like the long list of everything that cops are involved in our society. I hope you saw it, and how they don't really need to do almost any of them. Like basically at the end of the day, you need about 20 guys with guns in your city to be ready. But instead, we have police do all this fucking long list of bullshit. And that gets down to the real reason cops exist. The real reason cops exist and the way they do in our society is to be there as kind of sentinels, as paramilitary sentinels, ready to deal with like a true full-on class war. Like the people, the 95% standing up and taking what should be theirs back. That's the real reason they're there in a lot of ways. That, and to imprison people before that happens. So to make sure it doesn't happen by imprisoning millions of people. Anyway, so those are the real reasons. But the reasons that we're told they're like what they actually do with their day. And if you have seen the episode, you know, you've already heard all this, but is almost entirely bullshit. And for the stuff that's not bullshit, like homicide and rape, you could have people at desks without guns solving a lot of those crimes. You don't need a guy with a gun to run into these situations. But anyway, in the week I took off, LAPD comes out and, well, I'll just show you the article rather than preempt the article with my half-assed explanation of it. Los Angeles Police Union says officers should no longer respond to certain calls. And this is a long list of certain calls. As the Los Angeles Police Department grapples with understaffing and slow emergency response times, and let's just be clear, why are they understaffed and have slow emergency response? Because they're doing 97% shit they shouldn't be doing. And when they're, and so that uses up all their time. And then they're slow to respond to emergency calls because they're not out there. They're doing everything else that they shouldn't be doing. And really, a lot of emergency calls they shouldn't be responding to either. Like if someone breaks a leg, do you need cops there? The cop's going to shoot the broken leg to fix it? Or do you not need cops there? You just need fucking paramedics and that's it. No guys with guns needed. If you saw the video, that's what it was all about. But anyway, the Los Angeles Police Protective League, representing over 9,000 sworn personnel, submitted a list this week to the Los Angeles City Council of 28 non-emergency calls that it believes should be diverted to unarmed responders, which is exactly what I and many others have said, what I said in the video, many others have said, for a long time now. The list, which includes non-violent, homeless, and mental health-related calls, how crazy to say we shouldn't send cops to deal with a homeless guy having a really rough time. He's down in an alley taking a shit because that's how it works. Where else are you going to do it? And so the cops called. It's not sent with guys with guns to deal with that dude trying to survive in a system that does not want him to survive. So they're saying something that should be obvious to a lot of us, but is not. A lot of Americans are like, what? That's what cops do. No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be what they do. But critical and higher profile crimes, the union said March 1st in a statement to the media, and allow nonprofit workers and other city agencies to respond instead. Police officers sent to too many calls that are better suited for unarmed service providers, unquote. Craig Lally, the union's president, said in a statement to the media, we believe that in order to maximize the potential benefits of this new response model, it's important that the initial list of calls where police officers will cease responding to is robust. Other types of calls on the union's list include issues such as parking violations. Wait, you mean you don't need to send jacked up steroidal beasts to go deal with the fact that someone's tire is 0.7 millimeters over the line where it says that they're allowed to have that tire? You're not going to send steroidal idiots with guns? Why would you not? I don't understand. Who is going to shoot that tire back into place? Parking violations, tenant disputes, dog complaints with no attack has occurred. How about dog complaints, period? Anything involving a dog should not have morons with guns sent there. I've always said anything animal related should not be. Well, the other thing is, what do cops do when they go into a house? Step one, when they raid a house, is to shoot the dog. Like that's their job. That's just what they do, or whether it's their job or what's just what they do. But they fucking do it. They just shoot the dog. And so you really want the people that kill dogs as step number one? That they're going to go take care of a dog. Oh, they're going to go care for that dog that's running. Really? Yeah, that's the guy. Okay. Tenant disputes, dog complaints where no attack has occurred, illegal game. I mean, and where no attack occurred is even more crazy. It's just like, well, there's a dog running around. Send a guy with a gun. Okay, sure. Illegal illegal gambling. I mean, some of these are like, I didn't even know cops were sent to these things. Illegal game. They had a card game when they shouldn't have. Well, does anyone have? Does anyone could run down there with some tasers and maybe tase them to death? Public defecation and urination. I already mentioned that one. Panhandling. Calls to schools or nonviolent juvenile disturbances. Welfare checks. Nonviolent. Yeah, I love that. You know how many people have been killed accidentally by cops during welfare checks? Hi, we've come to check on your welfare. And it turns out the person was doing fine until the cops killed them. Then their welfare goes downhill pretty quickly. Once the cops kill you, your welfare is not as high as it was before. Welfare checks, nonviolent incidents at city parks, under the influence cases where no crime is involved, public drinking and cleanups of encampments. And the other thing is that a lot of these things are not really crimes unless they're being done by a type of person that the cop wanted to arrest anyway. So, for example, in New York City, the numbers as of a few years ago were that almost everyone arrested for an open beverage, walking around with a beer or a whiskey or whatever, was not white. Because and it's not because white people don't walk around with open beers and whiskeys, and having been that white person in New York City walking around with an open beverage. We do walk around with open beverages. It's that the cops are looking to arrest certain types of people to begin with. And then if they can go, oh, you had an open beer, I can get you for that. So the numbers as of a few years ago were 4% of arrests for open beverage in New York were white people, because it's not used again. The same with things like loitering. These are bullshit laws that are used as an excuse to implement racist policing. That's how it really works. So when they say, so when the LAPD says, we really shouldn't be sent on these things, they kind of don't even, I think many of them don't even understand how their racist policing system works. Just, I don't know about many of them, but a fair number of them. Anyway, and I just want to remind you that this is the LAPD saying, this is the fucking Los Angeles Police Department saying almost exactly what I said in my video 2 weeks ago, except I said we should get rid of 99% of cops. They're saying we should not get rid of any cops. We should just decrease the number of calls they go out on, which they're wrong about that, but big surprise. I have plenty of disagreements with the LAPD. Let's see. So here is a union spokesperson for the LAPD said police officers are sent on too many calls that are better suited for unarmed service providers. I already did that part. Union director and former LAPD officer Debbie Thomas said during a news conference, the police officers are not psychologists. We are not psychiatrists. We are not mental health experts. We are not social workers. We are not doctors, nurses, or waste management experts, she said. Yeah, that's so true. Cops are really nothing but dummies with guns. They shouldn't be sent on calls that require anything other than dummies with guns. Like that is what they should be sent on, which is a tiny number of issues where you should send dummies with guns. And so, again, I just want to reiterate that this is the LAPD, one of the most notorious, one of the most brutal, one of the most racist police departments that we have in this country. Even after Rodney King and everything, they have not done a good job of cleaning up their shit. And yet, here they are agreeing with me, who what some would call a radical position on policing. They're agreeing with a large percentage of it. Yes, they don't want it to be exactly the same, but they agree with me. And, of course, I take a week off, and then here I'm proven right by the LAPD. So anyway, long story short, this is how our policing system should be set up. Cops should be not be sent on any of those things. And, as with legalizing marijuana, I understand that this is the type of thing where you have to kind of often things need to be slowly implemented. So if the way to do it for now is to implement this slowly and slowly tick away various things cops are sent out on and prove that other types of people, such as mental health professionals, could do these jobs instead of cops, then fucking fine. Do it that way. I don't give a shit. As long as it gets done. So that, maybe that has to happen, as with legalization of cannabis, marijuana. It's slowly grown across the nation. Grown across the nation. And this should have happened yesterday, but instead, maybe it needs to slowly grow. Maybe if you it's kind of like what Joe Biden and what Gavin Newsom in California, although who knows whether Joe Biden will actually follow through in his bullshit promises. But the whole we're going to make insulin capped at $35. Well, the positive of that is that it's a slow movement towards universal health care, but it's pretty pathetic in that we've gone this long and now you're going to say, oh, it's going to be just insulin is capped at $35. Really? That's the only thing? Desperate people don't need other pharmaceuticals and other issues in their health paid for. Just insulin is important. Okay, interesting. All right, so I want to move on to another thing that I've been right about. And, I find these fun because it's like, hey, I was right. But the truth is, it's not. The reason I do them is not about, oh, I was right. The reason I do them is to show everyone that these so-called radical positions, that these so-called, far fringe positions, they're fucking right. And a lot of times the mainstream media comes to that side, or the government comes to that side eventually over years and years. And we're all sitting here, meaning all of us independent media, all of us so-called radicals are sitting there going, oh, you just figured that out, huh? You just figured out, yeah? Climate crisis is a thing. Oh, that's the thing now. You just got that. Okay, cool. Welcome to the party. So anyway, here's another one. So actually, this is the last two episodes of Most Censored News. And if you haven't seen the most recent episode of Most Censored News, I will be playing it at the end of this live stream, so you can watch it then. So I'm going a bit backwards here because I'm going to prove that episode that you might not watch for a few more minutes has been proven right yet again. So it's about the episode, which you'll be seeing in a few minutes if you haven't seen it, is about the hysteria of the Chinese balloon, how it was all blown out of proportions. But it's not just about that topic. It's about how the U.S. has a history of these type of hysterical, xenophobic, oh my God, this other country is trying to get us, hysteria bullshit. We have a history of that. And so I give other examples. And one of the examples I go through is the Cuban acoustic weapon attack, right? So you'll be seeing more on that in a few minutes if you haven't watched the episode yet. However, days after that episode comes out, here's what we get from none other than the Washington Post. So this is mainstream media. This is our government, mainstream media reporting on our government. Havana syndrome, which is what they called the harm that those acoustic weapons were doing, not caused by energy weapon or foreign adversary, intelligence review finds. Keep in mind, this is 3 years after, or maybe 4, this shit started. So, and yet many of us on the independent side of things and the correct side of things said from day one, this is bullshit. And A, B, and C, here's how you know it's bullshit. And so 3 years later, oh, it's bullshit. Again, this is Washington Post. This is mainstream media saying this. This is not some fringe outlet. The mysterious ailment known as Havana syndrome, did not result from the actions of a foreign adversary, according to an intelligence report that shatters a long disputed theory that hundreds of U.S. personnel were targeted and sickened by a clandestine enemy wielding energy. Sorry, I'm laughing, which is fucking up my reading abilities. Clandestine energy. Oh man, I did it again. You ever had that way? You fucking do something wrong the first time, and then you're like, "Wow, I got that wrong," and then you do it wrong again, just to show how dumb you are. Sickened by a clandestine enemy wielding energy waves as a weapon. The new intelligence assessment caps a years-long effort by the CIA and several other U.S. intelligence agencies to explain why career diplomats, intelligence officers, and others serving in U.S. positions around the world experience what they described as strange and painful acoustic sensations. Many of the afflicted personnel say they were the victims of a deliberate attack, possibly at the hands of Russia or another adversarial government, a claim that the report contradicts in nearly every respect, according to two intelligence officials who are familiar with the assessment and described it to the Washington Post. 7 intelligence agencies participated in the review of approximately 1,000 cases of anomalous health incidents. 5 of those agencies determined it was very unlikely that a foreign adversary was responsible for the symptoms, either as a result of purposeful actions, such as a directed energy weapon, or as the byproduct of some other activity, including electronic surveillance that unintentionally could have made people sick. So they've admitted this is like WMD in Iraq, except at least we didn't invade Cuba, but we used it to harm them in other ways, economically, etc. But they're admitting that this was all bullshit. And many of us were saying from day one, first of all, scientists say this is actually physically impossible for this to be an acoustic weapon for a variety of reasons, some of them being that it couldn't pinpoint one person in a building and just that person, gets headaches. And by the way, some of the people who said they were harmed by these energy weapons or whatever they decided to call them, or acoustic weapons, said that the harm that was done to them was a light headache and some sleeplessness. Quite the attack. The sleeplessness attack. It's pretty harsh. Anyway, I need to not make too many of those jokes because they're in the episode coming up. But you could have known that this was bullshit early on, and we did. So many of us said, "Look, here's why this is bullshit." Another reason you knew it was bullshit was that they were like, "Oh, Canada, sorry, not Canada. I saw a Canadian flag somewhere. Cuba targeted these diplomats for light headaches." And it's like, wait, so it's physically impossible. It sounds ridiculous. Cuba has they're an amazing country in many regards, but they're behind in many technological ways because they don't have new parts coming into the country, hence the amazing 1950s cars that you see in the photos. They keep refurbishing those because they don't have new car parts coming in. And the idea that Cuba would be like, if we could just make a bunch of U.S. diplomats have light headaches, or maybe not be able to get some good snooze time for the first hour of their sleep. We don't want to knock out all their sleep time. We just want to slightly harm their sleep time. It all was utterly preposterous. And here we are years later with the entire intelligence community going, "Oh yeah, it's totally nothing. So both those stories come out this past week. It's basically saying the last 2 episodes of Most Censored News were completely accurate. All right. I am going to do the rest of this episode at rumble.com/Lee Camp. That's rumble.com/Lee Camp. Join me over there. And I'm sorry for all the shifts. I'm sorry for the fucking dim lighting and everything. Everything over the next couple of months, I will have a new place and a new studio and all that shit. And I'll be figuring it out. So just bear with me. Don't give up because you don't like that my lighting is a little shitty. It'll be getting better. My times also will be getting more accurate. So, someone's asking if it'll be this time. I don't know the exact time it'll be, but I will figure that out soon. And I'll try and let everyone know. I generally update my schedule at leecamp.net, which will forward you to my locals page. And those posts are open to everybody. So if you got a free membership rather than you're a full member, you should still be able to see those schedules. And I'll tell you what times I'll be doing live streams, doing interviews, all that shit. By the way, there will be no episode of Most Censored News this week because, again, a lot going on in my life, including headbutts to the eye. So to the eyeballs, all that shit. Anyway, I got more for this episode. So that's at rumble.com/Lee Camp. Join me over there. Rumble.com/Lee Camp. I'll see you over there right about now. Well,